On behalf of the Rock Valley College Student Government Association and the students of this school, I would like to thank you all for your participation in today's forum and for your interest in running for the position of trustee. Illinois law expressly prohibits the use of public funds to urge electors to vote for or against any candidate or proposition or to be appropriated for political or campaign purposes to any candidate or political organization. That's just a legal note I have to make. Questions will be moderated by myself. I'm the student trustee. My name is Elijah Wertgo, as well as Dr. Ashford, who is our Vice President of Student Services. Today, I think it looks like we're only going to have one candidate, and he's going to be answering the same questions as we asked the last hour. I guess you might be able to get a little bit longer than a minute and 45 seconds if you want it.
I prefer fast meetings.
That's true. That's true. All right, so if you'd like to take a moment to introduce yourself, you can introduce yourself, and then I actually have one of the other candidates sent in a bio that she wanted me to read at the beginning. But go ahead.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Patrick Murphy. I am a current board member. I'm a local business owner here. I want to thank you all for coming, my fellow candidates for not showing up, make me look better, I guess. I promise I did shower. That's not it. But I've been on the board for 6 years. Most everybody in the room probably knows who I am and knows what I've done. I've known Roger for forever as well. So I guess I'll just rather answer all the questions and get to it.
Okay. And before we ask the first question, I'm just going to give the introduction for Letisa Wallace. She wrote in, I'm a former counselor at RVC. During my time at RVC, I helped to spearhead interdepartmental multidisciplinary behavioral intervention teams as the mental health professional on the team. BITS work began after the passage of legislation to require such teams on college campuses following the NIU shooting. I was a graduate student at NIU at the time and was near the Cole Hall the day of the tragedy. I also began a small internship program for human service majors, and together we asked for space and materials for the RVC Eagles SOAR display on the first floor of the Student Center. I also worked closely with faculty and administration to develop the Diversity and Inclusion Committee known as Promoting an Inclusive Community, or PACE. I left my employment at RVC in 2011 to pursue the completion of my doctorate in educational psychology. As I worked to complete my dissertation, I was employed by State Rep. Charles Jefferson. I helped to influence and sustain his advocacy for additional dollars to RVC, which amounted to approximately $500,000 of additional funding for support services to foster greater persistence and retention at the college. The effective use of those dollars by the BOT faculty, staff, and administration helped to create the foundation needed to resecure TRIO dollars from the federal government. And finally, as state legislator, in 2016, I stood with my colleagues from both sides of the aisle against our own leadership to pass legislation that helped fund colleges and universities while also providing funding for the Monetary Assistance Program, or MAP, for low-income students. In 2017, I helped to ensure low-income students could access SNAP benefits so no student pursuing their goals for a living wage job would go hungry doing so. That year, I also passed legislation for students who are parents to be able to receive child care assistance during class time if they are income eligible, so they may work towards their educational goals while their children were safe and cared for. I've always been committed to education, and I have been committed to RVC for a decade. I do hope to more directly serve the RVC community as a member of the Board of Trustees. Sincerely, Dr. Letisa E. Wallace.
Can I say something? I'm the only one here, so I guess it doesn't really matter, I guess. But obviously, I'm not the faculty favorite. That's okay. I still showed the respect to not phone it in. I just want to make sure I get to say that. So I thought that was, I want to make sure I at least showed you the respect to ask the questions and talk to me in person.
All right, well, before we begin, I just wanted to put out a disclaimer that the questions that will be asked today are from the students' perspectives, and these do not reflect the perspectives of the administration or the faculty here on campus. If any of the audience members have questions that they would like to be asked, you may come up to the table behind me, write your question down, and we'll try to fit them in if time allows, which probably will. All right, question one. This is a yes or no question. You're running for a 2-year term. Are you making a public commitment to the constituents of this community and to the students of this school that you will fulfill your 2-year term in its entirety before you seek any other political office?
I fulfilled my 6-year term, and I plan on fulfilling my 2-year term as well.
Thank you. Please define the role of a trustee.
I think the role of a trustee is actually pretty simple. Our job is to take the opportunities and the direction of the community. We need to match our needs with our resources and be able to provide what we can, the most we can, to the community for what their needs are with the resources that we have. So it's to prioritize the community needs and align them with our resources.
I have a question from the audience. How do you feel about RVC providing student child care?
I believe at least twice, if not 3 times, we've looked at childcare on campus. The first thing I got here, I thought it seems like a no-brainer. Absolutely, let's do it. The last time we tried it, we couldn't find anybody that was willing to provide it. No, we reached out to the YWCA. We reached out to other groups in the community. Everybody just said, no, we won't do it. If you look at the cost of it, you know, every dollar that we put into this one thing comes out of something else. Obviously, we have limited dollars. You know, the cost of it's very expensive, and that isn't even what the deciding factor was. The deciding factor was no one would do it.
This is another yes or no question. Board of Trustees elections are to be nonpartisan. Have you or will you accept endorsements, cash, or in-kind contributions from any internal employee group at the college?
No.
As a trustee, you will be faced with rising costs of operating Rock Valley College. Nearly 80% of our operating budget is above the line, salaries and benefits. Should the state fail to pass a budget, as they have in the past, would you support a property tax or tuition increase to support the rising costs of operations? How would you plan to deal with this operational challenge?
First of all, we did run into that in the past. When we went 2 years without a budget. We did make some tough decisions, tough unpopular decisions on campus, but we did stabilize the budget because of it. We currently have a balanced budget without state funding, so although we have less liability to that at the current time, we've also reprioritized our spending. Instead of a budget and spend, we did a receive then spend, so that we were not putting ourselves in that position. If you look at the property tax, there are several different buckets in property taxes. You have, your operations of the college, you have your debt service for the college, you have your tort for the college. They're all different buckets. If you do debt service, that's something that we actually could raise property taxes on if we took out loans. You don't want to do that. But when it comes to the operations of the college, and that's what you're getting to is on the operations side, that is something that would have to go out for referendum. We can't just go up and raise property taxes. That's kind of something that a lot of people think we can do. We actually can't. It's a limit, and as Trustee Gorski noted earlier, we are a penny away. It's actually a 0.1%, I think, away. As far as the tuition increases, I did just vote for a tuition increase, so I can't say that I wouldn't increase tuition, because I did, and I have, and I've also gone years without doing that. But approximately 5 years ago is when we started talking about the differential tuition rates. We asked for it back then. I know it's a very difficult thing to do from a management standpoint, to try and manage different tuition rates and everything else, and so that's something that took a while to get into place. I do believe that we made the right decision not touching the liberal arts side of the college and increasing the tuition only on the tech ed side of the college. That's the college classes that cost more, and so what we did is we've actually kind of raised the tuition over there. So as far as property taxes, I have no plans on going out for a referendum to raise property tax. As far as tuition goes, I know Trustee Gorski said that we were almost at our max cap rate. That isn't necessarily true. It's close. I believe it's 143 is our max cap rate, and we are at approximately, we are at 126, and I think we're at 128 now. 120. Doug, do you know the number that we're at? What's our weighted average? 126.30. So there is room in tuition that we can go. And that said, if I were to be convinced of a tuition increase, I think that it would be easier to convince me of a tuition increase on college classes that cost more.
Have another question from the audience. Please share your thoughts on continuing and community education at Rock Valley.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Please share your thoughts on continuing and community education at Rock Valley.
The thoughts on continuing and community education? I mean, I think that's one of the purposes that we serve. We are a community college, and continuing education is one thing that a community college is supposed to do. You come here, you might get your 2-year degree in liberal arts, you might get your certification, but that's not where the college ends. The college ends has no ends. Continuing education, anybody wants to come back, take a class here, a class there. They might already have a bachelor's, they might already have a master's, they might have anything. They can come back and they can take continuing ed. And you know, there's all kinds of classes that are suited for that, and that is a role of our college.
One of the major challenges facing all units of government in the state of Illinois is the looming pension crisis. There are conversations that this pension and OPEB liability should be placed at the local college. Currently, this would be about an $18 million annual liability to the college. As a trustee, how would you fund this obligation if it were to be passed from the state to the college?
We've been hearing about this for about 4 years. When Fred Lance first came to us and basically said, hey, we could be seeing a pension shift, and the state's been talking about it for years, and out of nowhere, really, the OPEB liability is what they place, that we have to record the OPEB liability. We figure it's a matter of time before they place the pension liability on us, and it's a matter of time before they actually make us pay it and do everything else. So what we've done is, because we've become independent of state dollars, we have a receive then spend attitude. We actually, you know, we have a lot of things in the budget that are, you know, parking lots and things like this, that, you know, we make sure we receive the money and then we do that. But we're also taking those state dollars and we're making sure that we are preparing to plan for that, because promises were made to faculty and to staff on pensions and on other post-employment benefits, and you know, it has to be kept. I think that what you could find is, if they make that shift from the state level, that could bankrupt colleges. That will bankrupt colleges. And I think what we've been trying to do for the last about 2.5 years now by creating Fund 12 is to cover all retiree benefits, retiree pensions, to make sure that that promise can be kept.
Communication with instructors is critical for students. As a member of the Student Government Association, one of the biggest complaints we get is that students aren't able to connect with instructors in a timely manner, and that office hours aren't accessible. How would you define acceptable office hours and response time to students' emails?
I sat here earlier, I heard all the different answers on it. I mean, I guess I can't determine what's acceptable. I think there are many factors. I think that if somebody has a test, you should get back, in 3 days, you got to get them back. I think that can vary, really. I can say that, in my world, I try and get back to somebody in 24 hours to at least let them know I'm following up with it or whatever else. But I think there's a lot of, there's spring break. If a faculty member or whoever the student's trying to communicate with is on spring break, there's vacations, there's all kinds of things. So it's not a hard, fast rule. But I think in general, most people want to see a response in 24 to 48 hours. I know that was what was brought up earlier, and I think that's a fair comment.
Once again, I want to encourage our audience members, if you have any additional questions.
Sorry, I talk fast, so.
Stretch this out a little bit, but with that in mind, I'll ask the next question. A portion of the student activity fee is designated to clubs and organizations. Do you think student club activities should be eligible for course credit?
I don't think that's the role of a trustee to determine that. I think that's the role of the ICCB, probably the faculty association and the administration and the president and a whole lot of people that aren't me. If they come and they say this should be given credit, then that should be given credit, but I don't think that's my decision to make.
Another question from the audience. Does the college have any paid or unpaid lobbyists that go to Springfield to get state legislatures to take pressure off increasing tuition and fees and property taxes to increase student enrollments?
Do we have paid and unpaid lobbyists? Yes and no. We have no paid lobbyists. I know lobbyists have come to us, but that's kind of the role of a trustee. I'm the guy that goes and talks to them, Lynn Carney has, Michael Dunn has, I mean, all of us have. We all know our local people. They come to us and they've asked us to spend $25,000 a year in ICCB to be a member of the ICCB so that they can lobby for us. I personally voted against that. I didn't want to spend $25,000 to an organization to represent me when I can represent myself just as good. When the state had a freeze on all CDB projects, we had CL1 tore apart, and they said, we're not giving you the money for it. And we said, what do we do now? We actually made the decision to pay for it out of funds that we had taken for Barbara Coleman project, and said, we're going to use that and get this thing back online and worry about lobbying the state. And we are one of 2 colleges that actually received the funds that were promised. There was a lot of colleges that were midway through projects, during that time. We are one of 2 that actually Representative Sosnowski and his really more his aide, Neely Erickson, got us that money. She lobbied them hard and got us $9.2 or $9.4 million that we were owed. I don't see why we would want to pay a lobbyist to go to Springfield.
As student trustee, I recently attended an Illinois Community College Board Student Advisory Committee meeting where I was encouraged to promote career and technical education pathways at the community college and K through 12 levels. Would you, as a trustee, share this interest?
Absolutely. I mean, your board, your student advisory council came to you and said that's what you should encourage. That's what we have been encouraging here. This kind of comes down to probably a question that's going to be asked. I mean, obviously, I know all the questions. I don't know if it's been asked or not, but you look at that whole 80-20 rule. That's what everybody's been talking about, 80% liberal arts, 20% tech ed. I know that, Trustee Nelson brought up in the last board meeting, why are we trying to turn a liberal arts college into a tech vocational college? We're a vocational college, and we have been since 1964. That's just a fact. We are both. In some states, such as Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, they have technical colleges and they have liberal arts colleges, and they get separate funding and they do separate duties. In Illinois, we have one college, it's a community college, and they provide both. What I mentioned to Trustee Nelson in that meeting was, are we trying to go 100% vote tech? We would go bankrupt in about a year. I mean, it's just not even feasible to do that because those are the higher cost classes. So I think that our mission, our role as a college in the community was not only the continuing ed, but it is the liberal arts side. It is the technical education side of it. And until the state of Illinois separates the 2, we have to act as both. Would I support and encourage that vision to pursue technical ed? I kind of find it hard to believe that we're pursuing it. First of all, it's not a versus; it's an and. But we are pursuing it. We always have. So I think that I encourage the fact that we actually take it seriously. But I think that we have to take all of those missions seriously.
Much of the recent discussion in the community has been placed on technical education. Coleman Village has been a hot topic that you've been asked about at each forum. Briefly explain your position on liberal arts versus technical education at Rock Valley College.
It's kind of what I touched on is it's not really a versus, it's an and. We are both. Like I said, we try and take the community needs, match them with the resources. We have needs in both. Almost all, really, technical ed classes require liberal arts courses. So you can't pick one or the other or pit one against the other. You have to provide both, and they have overlap. So I think that kind of the balance of liberal arts and career and tech ed works itself out by what the students want.
As we come up on our last question, I would again encourage any audience members if you have any.
See how I save taxpayer money? Speed.
Final question. Rock Valley College has a tremendous history in athletics. Since 2011, there have been 13 national championships. Recently, our bowling team was the national runner-up, and last week our men's basketball team also took second in the nation. Our student athletes demonstrate success in the classroom and in competition. What do you see as the future for RVC athletics, and how would you support this vision?
Athletics here it's really quite impressive. If you think about a 2-year college when You know, Coach Monroe takes the softball team and wins 5 straight national titles with a 2-year college. You have a new team every 2 years. That's almost unheard of. It is unheard of. It's only happened one other time. And if he wins the 6th one this spring, that will break a record. If you look at the men's and the women's basketball, you know, unheard of what they're doing. Coach Sandquist just took runner-up in the nation his first year with us. Our bowling team first year just took runner-up. We have outstanding student athletes. And they do have, you know, great GPAs and everything else. I think, you know, would I support it? I have not only personally go to the games and the championships and all that. I have written checks to the athletics department, to the booster club, and help support when they bought new scoreboards. I've helped support when they make trips. I've done the same thing though for the engineering department. I've helped sponsor scholarships with that. ALIS. We helped create a scholarship fund for ALIS, the Association for Latin American Students. I've supported actually not just from a board standpoint, but I've put my money where my mouth is, and I've donated my time, my money, and equipment to this college for the last 6 years, probably more than people think, but I absolutely support their athletics. I think they're doing a wonderful job, and I think the testament that when Misty Opat left, our athletic director, and took a great D1 job, which was her dream job down at Chicago State, to be able to hand over those reins to Darren Monroe and have that department still just soar is a testament to how strong they are.